Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. This is the Front Row Network, the podcast for people who actually like movies. And today we are getting presidential. We're talking all things presidential politics as we lead our way into November, into the general election. And we have some very, very special guests joining us. But before we get there, my name is Craig, and I'll be hosting you today. My co-host is the illustrious editor-in-chief of the Front Row Network, Mr. Jeremy Goeckner.
Hello, everyone. I am happy to be here. I'm happy to serve as the, I don't even know what to call it. I guess I'm holding feet to fire is what I'm doing here. I'm going to make sure that these picks have been thoroughly vetted and are made with the best intentions in mind. And you're all going to have to feel that.
If that's the goal, why are you doing it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey,
in the text earlier today, you did tell me you were going to channel your inner Jake Tapper. So
yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I want to be like
this.
a Jake Tapper, Rachel Maddow. I just want to know how crazy about Pangea I have to get and stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out as it goes. We'll figure it out.
So what I wanted to do in this episode is have a lot of fun with it. Presidential politics, especially this year, can get very heavy, and we just want to have a really good time with you tonight. But also, I wanted to be able to highlight some of the friends that I've gotten to meet along the way who are putting themselves out there into the arena and getting involved in politics, because truly it's millennials and Gen Z that are going to lead this country and lead our towns and lead our villages and lead our counties into the future. And so it's so great to know some of the people that are willing to put their necks out there, because getting involved in politics is not necessarily an easy thing to do, nor at times is it a fun thing to do. And so I really appreciate and truly grateful for the individuals that are going to be joining us tonight. And we also decided it'd be really fun if we had sort of a bipartisan, nonpartisan battle here. So I'll introduce our first contestant, who's representing the nonpartisan side of things because of his elected office. He is currently serving as the school board president for District 186. My brother, Mr. Scott McFarland. How are you, sir?
I'm prepared.
Oh, with a top hat.
Bonus points already.
Top hat.
Yes, and I do, unlike the people in the White House, I do follow the Hatch Act. I'm not partisan.
That's right. That's right.
Man.
So Scott, just real quickly, tell us why you decided to get involved in politics and why particularly you wanted to run and then successfully win a seat on the school board.
Well, I think, honestly, the first thing I remember about politics was back in 1993 when I got yanked out of my class in elementary school because they thought I was nerdy enough to like the presidential inauguration in January for President Clinton. So that was my first experience with politics. And since then, I've just been enjoying the idea of serving others and through scouts and through education, and led me to school board. I also tried for city council once and got my butt kicked, so here we are.
Fair enough. So we have with us two members running for the county board, and actually one person who's currently serving on the county board. We have Ryan Melchin, who's representing our Republicans tonight. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing well. Can't complain.
I met Ryan back at UIS, and Ryan was the president of the College Republicans. I was heavily involved in the College Democrats, and it was just fun because instead of having any kind of animosity towards each other, the groups really had a fun time together. They hosted debate watch parties. They yelled at each other. They drank with each other. It was a really fun time to be involved in campus politics, and Ryan was a big part of that as leading the College Republicans. He also has gone on to work in the legislature and also to do a lot around politics ever since leaving UIS. So Ryan, tell me a bit about how you decided to get involved and why you decided to run for this seat. Now, you were appointed to the county board last year, correct? Or was it 2 years ago now?
A year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So tell me how you got involved.
Well, kind of like what Scott said, it was, I think, the 96 election. I think I was in second grade, and I remember casting my mock ballot for Bob Dole, and I didn't no rhyme or reason for that. I just decided to vote for Dole, and then my grandmother kind of got me into current events and following the news and what was going on. And in high school, I think I was the only real active person in my high school that cared enough to know who all 17 Republican candidates were back in 2007. So it started at a young age, and moving to Springfield was a kind of a natural place for me, and met my wife down here. So it's a great place to get involved in politics. That's for sure.
Absolutely. It's funny, and I don't even know if Scott knows this, but in the 2000 election, I remember distinctly being in middle school and going through like this mock, like we were doing like a mock primary in our social sciences class, and you would never guess my presidential candidate was Alan Keyes. And that's because
Nice.
I thought it was really cool that, this black man was running for president, knowing nothing about his politics at all. So, but yeah, so it was, so times change a little bit. But representing the Dems on this panel tonight, we have someone also that I met during my time at UIS. And I distinctly remember the first time that I got to meet Nick Dodson was we were working on a group project for like a communication class or something like that. And out of nowhere, he just mentions like, oh yeah, I'm in this band, or was in this band, and we toured a bit. And so then it comes to find out that like this band that I had listened to all throughout high school, the junior varsity, Nick is part of that. He's part of that. Didn't you guys tour Japan or something like that? Or, oh, you're still on mute.
So we toured Japan. We did not tour Japan. We toured Europe twice. We did our actually second tour was in Europe with Panic at the Disco, and it was their first European tour. So it was their first tour there, and every venue got upgraded to the largest spot, and they all sold out in advance, and it was an incredible time to say the least.
Absolutely. I bet. Now, Nick, how did you decide to become actively involved in politics? Because it's something that, just from following you on social media after college, it's something that I could tell has driven you for the past several years to get involved, especially around some of the issues that are going on today. So tell me why you decided to get involved into politics.
Sure. So a lot of it comes to, honestly, back in, it was either September or October, on Facebook, the Sangamon County Dems posted that there were 109 of 125 seats unopposed at the county level. So I was like, yo, that's for real? Wow. So I shot him a message and was like, hey, I'm not a politician. I have no experience whatsoever. I care. What could I do? Just to see what's what. And I sat down with Kovats and had lunch. I sat down with a couple other people and we talked. At that time, it wasn't right for me whatsoever. I'll be completely honest. I decided, my dad was really ill. There was just stuff going on in my life. And I was like, hey, it's not for me. Fast forward to quarantine, and things got even worse. You know what I mean? Things were even more bleak. And I'll be completely honest, my personal favorite candidate, Bernie, dropped out. And it kind of made me like, whoa, okay, I lost some hope in some things as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to double down for myself and run locally and care. So I shot Kovats a text. I hit, I had some people, some local activists like Elizabeth Scrafford, some good friends that tried to push me into it as well, because they know I care. They know I know some folks here and there that care as well. And I'm loud. And I guess that's really what it comes down to, man. It's just I have a deep, caring heart for a lot of people in this area, from my family to people that I've worked with. I don't have a lot of family that I'm super close with, but I have a lot of people that I've met through different jobs through the years. I've always been in middle management, and I've seen a lot of different people get exploited and taken advantage of, and that breaks my heart. So being any person that could ever put a light onto something like that as well is really important to me. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I love how Illinois politics is basically a game of 7 degrees of separation from David Kovats. He ran my first campaign. So
okay.
Absolutely. So it's such an honor to have all of you take some time out of the campaign season. I know it's a weird campaign season for you with COVID and everything else going on, but thank you so much for sitting down for us, and we're going to have a really good time. So to give you the ground rules for what's going to happen in this presidential draft, what we're doing is we have 3 contestants. Jeremy and I will be providing your commentary this evening, so we'll see how well we do at that. But we are going to do 7 different rounds. I'll announce whose pick is up, and you'll be on the clock to choose a fictitious president. However, we will allow, if you would like, you are not required to do this, but if you wanted to insert one true real-life president into your draft team, that's okay, as long as they appeared in a documentary that you can cite while you're picking them. So that's totally up to you. There are no repeat picks. Once a presidential pick is off the board, it is off the board for good. I like that. The Inauguration Day flag for Barack Obama, I'm guessing, right? Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful, Scott.
Quick question here on these rules, Craig.
Yeah.
I'm not only holding the picker's feet to the fire, but also the host here. You say appear in a documentary. Does that mean they themselves had to have video footage of themselves in it? Or are we talking like a documentary put a picture of Abraham Lincoln in there, and that means that it counts?
I also have to question this rule, too, because when you keep saying documentary, I thought we were talking about movies, because no movie has ever been dramatized about a sitting president ever. Right?
You're right.
No, never.
You're right. What I'm saying is that they some kind of video image or video representation of them. So I'm thinking that this is probably from JFK on. Well, maybe you might be able to.
No, there's some from the 1900s and or late 1800s.
I am so confused now by these rules. I thought I had it, and you've confused me more now. So if there is
the good thing is, I think most of you had said, I'm probably not going to pick a real life president. So,
I so am.
We're probably not going to run into it too much, which is good. Any other rules that I forgot? Oh, what did you say, Scott?
I'm still trying to figure out this rule, but you're just blowing past it.
That's because I studied politics. So the winner is going to be determined by social media vote. We will put all 3 teams out to you, the listeners, and you will decide who wins out of our 3 contestants here. I did some random draw at the beginning to determine the order. And what we're going to do is essentially snake through this order back and forth and kind of go from there. So just to show how truly bipartisan I am in nature, we are starting the first round with the first pick going to Mr. Ryan Melchin.
Ooh, lucky me.
You are on the clock for your first pick.
All right, well, you actually alluded to him earlier, and I am going to go with President James Marshall from Air Force One.
James Marshall from Air Force One.
The one and only.
Off my plane.
The best line in all of cinema. Presidential cinema, let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And so why this is, right out the gates, your first pick, why are you putting so much confidence into Harrison Ford here?
I think he played the role extremely well. He looked the part. The way he conducted himself, in the movie. He seemed, they don't allude to whether he's Republican or Democrat. He seems to have the support of the American people in that film, and everyone's rooting for him. So he's my first pick.
Jeremy, what you think about that pick? Strong?
This is a strong pick. You always obviously want a strong leader, and punching Gary Oldman out of airplanes is always a very strong thing. So this is a very strong first pick. Does it upset you or concern you a little bit about his complete disregard for government property, considering how that plane just went down in the ocean? No, that's fine.
Given how our current situation is, I think he's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Be careful, Melchin. You got like 41 days. Be careful.
Is that all?
I'm not up for re-election until 2023, so I can say whatever I want.
Marshall is providing a good government job to another plane designer. That's what he's doing there. I think that's what we're trying to say.
Plenty of government contracts to give out.
There you go.
Well, we're going to move on. Certainly Melchin appealing to the suburban female voter with Harrison Ford coming out first. So definitely something that you're looking out there for. Our next pick in the first round goes to Mr. Nick Dodson. How are you, sir? You're on the clock.
I'm very well. I have an excellent choice, and I think it's going to be a strong leader for my entire crew. I'll be completely honest. I'm very thankful to get to have the second choice. And my choice is Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. So if you can beat that, do it.
I love that. Appealing to the local crowd here, obviously within Springfield. We love our Lincoln. We hate our vampires. So this makes a lot of sense to me. Why are you going with that in your first pick?
Well, fall is my favorite season. It's right around the corner. I love, the whole mythos of killing vampires. And in the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter movie, if you remember, the slave owners were actually raising slaves to suck their blood. So it was still a literal blood feeding of sorts. So it's an interesting, still very similar. So I thought it was a great movie. It was a lot of fun. It was stupid. It was awesome. It was over the top. And he still was an abolitionist. And he still killed vampires. And, really, vampire divided can't stand.
You're right. They can't. Jeremy, your thoughts?
I worked at the Lincoln Museum, and I was woefully ignorant of Lincoln's sweet axe skills. And so this movie really brought it back for me. I mean, you hear the rail splitter stuff, but you didn't know that he could just like twirl it around like a freaking battle right there. So
that final scene.
Gotta say, that one is out of left field, and it is glorious from this commentator here. So I've got little to say here. Strong start.
Strong start to Nick Dodson's team. Also a strong start for Melchin as well.
Yes.
Will we have a strong pick coming from our third contestant? Scott McFarland, you are on the clock.
So we got a movie about Lincoln that starts in Springfield, but they filmed it in New Orleans on blue screen. We think it's a good idea. Okay. Way to go, Jeremy, to support a movie that really screwed over Springfield. Good job. Really proud of you.
Hey, man.
I was actually going to go with this is why I kept asking about the rules, because I was going to go for the real Abraham Lincoln from Lincoln, but I guess I can't do that now. So I'm going to go. Wait, hey.
Kind
No,
of.
I think
That's a good question.
I think that is. I think that in my mind, I'm going to say that because that is a representation of Abraham Lincoln, and is not Abraham Lincoln himself. When I said true president, I meant as like if you see a documentary on Bill Clinton and you wanted to choose Bill Clinton the man, then you can do that. But
I don't think anyone wants to choose Bill Clinton the man for anything.
That's why I used him as an example.
Wait a minute. Are you sitting here now, Craig, and telling me that Lincoln did not kill vampires during the Civil War? Because that's something I'm not prepared to process.
I'm going to plead the fifth on that and say that, Scott, that you can choose Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln.
I'm going to.
Legal.
That's my number one. Yes.
And it's a strong number one. Why are you going this direction?
Because unlike Vampire Hunter, this one actually kind of is Lincoln, because he actually did his research and has a squeaky voice and actually came to Springfield to take a look at some things before he made the film, unlike blue screen vampire guy. So, yeah.
They did hold their launch party at the Lincoln Museum for Vampire Hunter.
They did.
Hey.
They did.
I was there that night. That was some nuts decorations.
And just like that, we're leaving the first round. Everybody feeling pretty good about this first round. I think you've got some strong contenders. I've got to say, there's a pick on the board, at least in my mind, that is still out there, because we are, of course, doing TV and film. And so just wondering when that might come off the board.
Well, I'm questioning, do I have to go last every time?
No,
snake draft, man.
It's a snake draft. So the next person up is Nick Dodson.
All right.
Scott again, wouldn't it?
No.
No.
Yeah, wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double up.
Go for it.
The way that I have it, I have a formula, people.
It's not a draft podcast unless we make fun of the host. And since Lou's not here, Craig, you win.
I have it down. Nick is going next.
There you
Fair.
go.
In the second round with the first pick, Nick Dodson.
Nick, I will carry a grudge if you pick the wrong one. Just telling you right
Okay, well, I have another excellent choice coming for you, and it is President William Allen Moore of Big Game, and that's Samuel L. Jackson. So I don't know if you folks have seen this. It is a Finnish action movie, and it's in the vein of an 80s, 90s action kind of suite. I would highly recommend it if you've not seen it. It's a lot of fun. But long story short, a plane goes down in Finland, and a 13-year-old Finland hunter boy helps him escape an estranged assassin. and it's a pretty cool, wild ride.
That sounds awesome. I have not seen this film. Jeremy, your thoughts?
What was the name of it?
It is called Big Game.
Big Game. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one either, but I have heard of it, and I just got to say, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, you can't really go wrong there. I mean, he could play the president, and I swear, you know, if Congress wanted to give him a hard time about a bill, he would probably just go over there and do a Jules from Pulp Fiction on him, and, you know, all of a sudden the budget gets passed. So I think that's a pretty strong pick, especially pairing up with the Vampire Hunter. You've got some muscle. You've got some muscle behind your team right now. Your agenda is going to get through, my man.
You're not messing around. You're taking no prisoners with your picks here, Nick. I like it. I like the strong showing that you're having in these first couple of rounds. With the second pick of the second round, even though he's complaining about things so much, Scott McFarland.
Well, now Nick has decided he doesn't want to win. I feel a lot less concerned now. I'm going to go with the absolute number 2 choice behind Lincoln. And
Was that absolute or obsolete? I didn't.
Absolute.
Okay.
And since, Craig, you said we're not just doing movies, this makes perfect sense. I have Jebediah Bartlett.
Yes. He is quite the president, but why is he going to be taking the number 2 spot on your team?
Because we all need a good liberal in the White House right now, I think. It's for a generation of political nerds, the West Wing was our political candy. And on October 15th, HBO Max, pay me, we get to see them again. So
Is that coming on?
October 15th.
October 15th.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so it's in my little fan brain, it's a revival, and we're going to have a new show after that. I'm excited. Sterling K. Brown is now Leo, which I'm good with. So no, but Jed Bartlett is absolutely. He was a great president who was also somebody who could reach across the aisle. He saved Social Security. He kept us out of needless wars, and was able to actually make it through 2 terms without being impeached, which is always a positive.
He did kind of commit a war crime
Yes.
halfway
Also-
through.
But it was a war crime we could get behind, wasn't it?
It was a war crime we could get behind. That's right.
Wasn't it?
I do have to say, I think it was
He
probably
dropped the guy's charter plane in the Caribbean. It really was.
I think, I think it was probably a slip, but because you're picking on me so much, I don't know who Jebediah Bartlett is, by the way. It's definitely Josiah Bartlett.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Just so you know, and I wanted to make sure that I still had my
I want to
Western
make sure that's my
thread
pick.
intact.
Don't mess up my pick. That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Finishing up Jeremy, did you have a comment? You also have been through the Jed Bartlett West Wing series several times, and I think you're even watching it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm bringing my wife through it right now, and she is loving it. Yeah, Jed Bartlett is perfect. He's the perfect human being. Everybody knows this. Just let the censure go, lying to the people about MS. That's fine. Everybody's okay with it now. They educated the public on that. But yeah, war crimes are fine. And if you're going to, have the scene where you tell off the conservative radio show host like that, probably one of the best scenes in television history. I'm just saying.
I will say with West Wing and Jed Bartlett, we have, and going back to their 7 Degrees of Dan Kovacs, we have an election night routine with my folks that we do watch a West Wing episode after we've dropped our signs at polling places at 3 a.m. And so far we're batting about 700, 800 when it comes to watching episodes and winning elections. So 2 Cathedrals is a huge one that we watch a lot. So it's good times.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew he was going to come off the board early, and he did. Rounding out the second round for us with his second pick is Ryan Melchin.
All right, that's Bartlett's a good one, but I'm going to go with President Thomas Whitmore from Independence Day. He is.
Now we need to talk about this. What are your reasons behind going Tom Whitmore?
I think he was a president. He was able to rally the world to defeat the alien invasion, and not only that, but he backed his words up with action. He got in the plane and he worked with our allies and worked with our military hand in hand, and he got the job done.
So one of the things I did today was I reached out to a professional. So when I was going through my master's program, I had to read so much Seth Maskett. He's an instructor. He's a professor out of University of Denver, writes some wonderful stuff, had a book that was 10 years ago called No Middle Ground, which truly talked about exactly what's happening today. He was ahead of his time on that. So I wanted to ask him who he would pick. And none of you have picked that president yet, but someone else said, oh, well, maybe we should do Tom Whitmore. And he did comment, probably a better fighter pilot than president, Tom Whitmore, because it did seem like at the beginning of that movie that he is not necessarily in a great place politically, right, but he does rally the troops and give quite the stirring speech. We won't talk about his role in Independence Day Resurgence, though.
Oh.
That's fine. That sequel never happened. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there.
Wasn't he like at a 35% approval rating at the beginning of Independence Day?
Something like that. It was something
really
abysmal.
It was insane. Yeah.
He rose to the occasion. That's what
those kind of approval ratings. Ryan is used to those kind of approval ratings. That's
I sure am.
That's what his guys do.
He's a Republican in Sangamon County. He's never seen a 30% in his life.
All right. Man. Jeremy, any thoughts on Tom Whitmore?
No, I mean, look, you're right. Like one of the best speeches in movie history. Stepped up, fought, did nuke Dallas, if I'm remembering correctly. Dropped a nuclear bomb on his own country. Houston there. So that might hurt you with the independence a little bit. But
I don't know, unless you're a Dodgers fan, then you're all for it.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, I think most baseball fans are okay with that nowadays. But yeah, strong pick. You got a pretty strong team there working here, Ryan. I'm anxious to see where you go.
We have 3 strong teams going into the third
these
round
are really
because
good.
Even though none of us have seen the Sam Jackson movie that Nick picked, it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Sam Jackson is the president. That's all I need.
You won't be disappointed.
I'm checking it out for sure after this is done. All right, we're moving into our third round. And I begrudgingly do this because he was making fun of the order I was using for this draft. But Scott is first in the third round.
Like any good president, I need to start being strategic. I got to start well-rounding my list to get as many voters as possible. So I know we've got a lot of comic book geeks who listen to the front row. So I'm going to pull one out of left field, and I'm going to say President Lex Luthor.
Ooh, good.
Oh, okay. So what film or TV property?
It would be Smallville. There was a flash forward.
That's correct.
Luthor was wearing the white suit and the glove because he had the kryptonite cancer. And
then the woman died after that, right?
I'm sure also that there was probably some DC animated films that have done the same thing because Luthor as president's kind of a timeline thing. But I think I need some evil votes, and so I figure why not just go for the top?
Who do you think are going to provide those evil votes? What are you?
People who like Batman versus Superman and other terrible films.
Okay.
Sigh, that means I have to vote for it. No, you're right. I can't remember which one it was. It was one that was the aping on the Injustice narrative or the Justice Lords narrative.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, then there's the times where Luthor's a good guy, and I mean, there's DC's more crazy than Marvel with its time.
Yeah, the DC animated films are all crazy awesome, and that's a sneaky good pick there, my man. I mean, he got elected. People love the strong man bald guy.
If there's one thing American politics need more, it's more power-hungry bald white men getting involved.
Yes, with authoritarian values.
But in the Smallville one, he was a sexy bald man.
That's true. That is true. Right. Michael Rosenbaum definitely has the sex appeal.
And now has his own podcast. It's wonderful.
Which is really good, yes. If you haven't heard it, guys, really good.
Such a great podcast. All right. So we now go to Ryan Melchin with the second pick of the third round. You're on the clock.
On the clock. I am going to go with, and I don't have his first name, but President Fowler from The Sum of All Fears, which was a movie, I think, with was it Ben Affleck?
Yeah, it was Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm. And my reasoning for that is, that was a movie about having the U.S. and Russia kind of on the collision course for nuclear war. And he was able to bring both countries together. And at the very end, that speech that they were given about preventing nuclear war, I think is very fitting for the times we live. And I think that kind of relationship with Russia is what we need today.
That That movie's got one of the best cold opens because they're going through to DEFCON 1.
Yep.
Ready to launch the nukes, and then his wife calls and he says, "Hey guys, we got to postpone this."
Yep.
One of the best cold opens ever.
It's brilliant.
Going with the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan vote for this.
That's right.
It's a strong pick for sure. Mr. Goeckner, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, James Cromwell, really good presidential performance there, and you're right, a lot of gravitas in a short amount of time in that. So I mean, shorter anyway. But yeah, I like that pick. It sounds outside the box. I like it.
Got some outside the box thinking going on here between Big Game. And
I know. I'm
Lex
very
Luthor.
impressed by these picks so far. I'm not
And
gonna lie,
Sum of All
guys.
Fears.
I'm
This is
dropping
really
the
good
kayfabe at
stuff.
the moment. These are some pretty good picks so far.
Yeah, my team would have been completely different than this, but probably not in a good way. So it'll be fun to see what the audience thinks of as we go through this. So that was Ryan. So now we are finishing up the third round already. It's just so quickly going by.
Moving
with
so quick.
Mr. Nick Dodson, you're up with your pick.
Okay, so I've got my tanks. I got my heavy hitters. I've got Abraham Lincoln with an axe. I've got President William M. Moore. He's a survival guy. Now I'm going to roll into the reasonable. I'm picking Lisa Simpson, president, from episode Art to the Future. She's a single woman president, and she did it. So that's it.
That is fantastic.
Wow.
Great pick.
Glass ceilings are breaking all over the place. Yeah.
We could use more Lisa Simpson.
She's got her heavy hitter standing by her. She's in the middle. She's the voice of reason. I don't know if you guys remember the episode. It's an interesting one. But yeah.
It made a pretty bold prediction, did it not?
A lot of different ones.
What the one thing that might hold her back is that she has been in the second grade for over 30 years. And so
Yeah.
I do think that maybe someone might point out that she may not have the mental acuity to be able to handle the office.
Sir, are you questioning that a second grader couldn't handle the White House right now?
The jokes just write themselves.
Nick, did you have something to say?
I'm just thinking if we look at it a couple different ways, are we looking at it's her actually flash forward at age 38, because I believe that's the age she is in that, or are we looking at the Umbrella Academy where she is in second, what grade was it you said?
I think she's in second, isn't she?
Second, or she's young, right? If she's been that way for how many seasons? Maybe she's soaked in some of that.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Keep our options open.
It's a really strong pick. It's something I wouldn't have thought of again, and this is really just awesome. So now in the fourth round, going into our middle round here, Ryan Melchin is up on the clock.
All right. Well, I asked my wife for some feedback, and I would be in the doghouse if I didn't mention this before someone takes it. I'm going to go with, and this is it wasn't confirmed in the show, but it's alluded to, that Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec may have become president. And I think she is exactly the kind of leader that we need. She is always cheerful and optimistic, and no matter what the odds are, she gets the job done. And I think that's what we need now.
Absolutely. You appreciate your wife's opinion so much that you waited till the fourth round to pick her.
That's right.
But I will say Leslie Knope, definitely a strong pick. Really she embodies that government servant. She's trying so hard to get people to come to her town hall meetings and to come to her forums and all of that. I'm sure you as local candidates have experienced those times where you put so much effort into something and only a couple of people show up. But it's that kind of thing that actually gets things done. So Pawnee is well represented in Leslie Knope for sure. Jeremy, your thoughts on the pick?
No, just a great one. And also a person who will stand there and listen to everyone, no matter how crazy they are. A true president for every person in the country. A very strong pick there, Ryan.
Excellent.
Has a very close and loving relationship to Joe Biden. So
that's right.
Very interesting pick for you there, Melchin. I like.
I didn't even think of that, to be honest.
All right. With the second pick of round 4, Nick Dodson, you're up.
All right. So for my next pick, I am going to choose. Let's see. It is President Beck, Morgan Freeman, Deep Impact, because
Solid.
I've got my heavy hitters, the guys that can wreck things, think the logic. But when things need to get all back together, once the world's coming back, once the water's finally settling, he's the voice of reason to rebuild. I think we all remember the outro of that movie.
Stop poaching my picks.
It was like the original disaster movie for me.
That's right.
When I was in high school, I remember being like,
I will tell you that you just secured Seth Maskett's vote, because this is the pick that he had, because he thought in a tumultuous time you would want this gentleman leading you. And I don't think he's wrong. He definitely has a sense of calm about him, especially thinking that he already had another movie about asteroids come out right before his movie, and he still was able to go forth and lead that country through kind of a second movie about asteroids in a very short amount of time.
Sir, you're going to have to turn in your movie card. They were a comet in Deep Impact.
That's true.
Comet.
Comments.
An asteroid.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But also,
Rock
to your
from-
point, you know what that first movie about asteroids did not have? Morgan Freeman
Science.
as the president.
Right.
For science.
Or science. Are you trying
It
to
has
tell me
Steven
the
Tyler
spaceships
and Liv
cannot
Tyler
land
and-
on in-orbit comets?
Yeah.
Deep Impact actually somewhat is scientific.
It is actually a little bit.
A little bit. They use physics, which is impressive,
Yeah.
because Armageddon does not.
Wait, you're telling me Michael Bay doesn't like science, man?
I know Aerosmith does.
God.
What a solid pick. I'm actually kind of surprised it took till the fourth round for him to come off the board, but I am glad that he's finding a home on your team, Nick. Now we're going to go to rounding out the middle round here, the fourth round, with Scott.
Well, Beck would have gone the fourth pick because he was definitely right here on my list. But I will go to my fifth now. And you can't have Jed Bartlett without the proto-Jed Bartlett, which is the American president, Andrew Shepard.
Oh, man, I can't believe he lasted this long.
It's
He is
interesting that
the
you
president.
now talk me through this. You have two Sorkin-esque presidents. You have essentially Martin Sheen playing the chief of staff in the American president and then graduating to the role of president for the West Wing. You have Michael Douglas delivering what I think is probably one of the best movie monologues, particularly political movie monologues, in his speech at the press conference about Cindy Ellen Wade. But are you going for the same audience here in picking Jed Bartlett and Andrew Shepard? Defend yourself, sir.
Am I going for an intelligent audience? Yes, I am. But no, I like this pick because it isn't. I mean, he obviously is the prototype for Jed, because without American President, Sorkin would never have been able to write Wing. But we have a different person here. For one, with Andrew Shepard, he is a widower. He is a single dad, and it is one of the few romantic comedies that I can sit through without gouging my eyeballs out, which is a positive thing. And I love the fact that he is somebody who learns throughout the movie. He's a president who has an arc. Most of our presidents we've talked about push people out of planes, stop comments, great. But we have a president here who has an arc. He's actually somebody who is in the middle of the road. He's actually got really good approval ratings because he hasn't really done anything. He hasn't really caused any problems. So he's in the 50s and 60s approval. When he starts to actually make tough decisions about gun rights and about the First Amendment, he starts losing people. But instead of deciding to tack to the center again, he realizes that he needs to stand by his ethics and stand by his girlfriend and continues forward. And Michael J. Fox keeps him right in line where he needs to go.
A couple of just brief comments. One, in fairness to the comet in Deep Impact, it did hit still. So it's not as though Morgan Freeman.
Just the one half.
Just the one.
Okay.
Because the
Yeah,
astronauts
just-
saved us from the other
Just
half.
Biederman.
I love Deep
Yeah,
Impact.
come on.
And
Biederman.
number two, I do still think, Jeremy, I want your comments on this. Is this the Elizabeth Warren problem? Are we going for too high of the intellectual college degree carrying
Dude,
white
I have
liberal
Lex Luthor
in
on
this-
my list.
in
Chill.
this team?
I was about to say,
a billionaire.
Just level it out.
Lex Luthor does very much even out the flow of the team here. And obviously, Scott already talked about it. He's not worried about Bob Rumson's attacks here because he's got a strong guy who's just going to stand up there and like verbally abuse him from there to end his presidential career.
Mr. Holland can shove it, okay?
There you go, man.
And just like that, we are through the first 4 rounds already. You only have 3 picks remaining in this draft, so you better make them good ones. We are in round 5, and Nick is going to lead us off in round 5.
All right. So my next choice is going to be President Mays Gillum, Chris Rock from Head of State. The common man. He didn't want to do that job in the first place. He was a low-level Washington. I forget what the gig was exactly, but he fell into it, had to do it, didn't want to do it, did it, and then as soon as he started telling the truth, talking straight to people, he started succeeding. So
very egalitarian in his nature, and he was very much painted like the Harry Truman of that movie, where the guy that just didn't want the job ends up being a pretty good president throughout the movie. I like it. It's a strong pick for sure. Jeremy, your thoughts on Chris Rock?
Yeah, when I saw that movie, it was, like I had kind of the mixed reaction to it. But you're right, by the end of that movie, I'm kind of rooting for him, despite, the obvious flaws of the writing of that movie. Like the Republican caricature in that movie is just, that just makes me feel really, really bad. But no, Rock really does do a really great little turn there. And you're right, like it kind of speaks to the ability that people want the president to be able to just talk to them in plain terms in the way that they talk to each other. So I think that's a pretty sneaky good pick there, Nick.
Thanks.
I think, out of all the teams so far, I'm like envisioning in my head what I'd like to do. And Nick, your team has a very strong, talk about politics while drinking beers vibe.
I really feel like it's got so many. I'm almost looking for the RPG team. I got my 2 tanks. I got a wizard. I got my cleric. You see what I'm saying? It's not just I got all these folks with policy. It's a little bit of this, a little razzle dazzle.
I'm interested to see who your healer is now.
Yes,
we certainly need one in politics. All right. We're going to go to the second pick of the 5th round. Scott.
I'm going to go taking a cue off Ryan. And this person has not been a president in film yet, although sooner or later it'll happen. But he has been president in the book series that continues from the films he is in. And that is President Jack Ryan.
Okay, I think I will allow it because Executive Orders is a book where he becomes president.
Debt of Honor, actually, he takes over. Then he continues.
Is it Debt of Honor?
Debt of Honor, yeah. Which is a little awkward now when you read it because it was about a plane flying into the Capitol, but we'll let it go because it was 1999 when it came out. But yeah.
But talk to me about Jack Ryan. Now, is this like the... is this the Jim version of Jack Ryan?
No, I actually, the Jack Ryan series that's on Amazon right now has made Jack Ryan into Rambo, and that's not good, so we're just going to ignore that. But this is really the Harrison Ford, and this is actually the plan that was in place after Clear and Present Danger, before we went to Batfleck. The next Harrison Ford film was going to be a kind of amalgamation of Debt of Honor, Executive Orders. And for those who haven't read the book, spoilers ahead, but he is elevated to National Security Advisor, and he is picked as the person to stay behind during the State of the Union. And yes, this was aped by the TV.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, the book came first. And so there's an attack on the Capitol, and because of that, Jack Ryan is the only one left from the administration, so he has to take over. And then there is a virus. So speaking of sounding familiar, that he has to deal with because it is a terrorist attack that includes the bombing of the Capitol and then a virus released in the country. So Jack Ryan, I love him because he is not... even though he's played by Harrison Ford in several of the films, he is not the Harrison Ford that knocks people out of their planes. He is a Boy Scout. The reason why he moves up the chain is because he is an intelligent person who understands things that other people don't understand, but then stands his ground when he needs to and doesn't fight off a fight or doesn't run away from a fight. So I really was disappointed we never got President Ryan, but if we did, he'd be good.
So now Jack Ryan played by 5 different actors at this point, correct?
Yeah, because
Okay.
they keep resetting his age, and it's annoying. I want the old Jack Ryan. Why can't I have the old Jack Ryan?
He's like the American trying to be version of James Bond at this point.
But if you want to see a travesty of Jack Ryan, watch season 2 of the Amazon show, because they take Clear Present Danger and turn it into Rambo 6, and it's really disappointing.
Oh, that's sad. I like John Krasinski. But
I think he should be Mr. Fantastic, not Jack Ryan.
all right, fair enough. Fair enough. The next person in this round is going to be Ryan.
All right. My pick is going to be President Bill Mitchell, the impersonator, a.k.a. President Dave Kovic from the movie Dave.
Nice.
Poaching my pick again.
One of my all-time favorites. And I chose him because, he is kind of a goofy person, someone he's an impersonator by his trade, and the president has fallen ill. And I believe it was his chief of staff that comes up with this plan to allow him to impersonate the president for who knows. I don't remember how long they were planning to do that, but he ended up, the chief of staff was kind of running the operations, and he made some forged the president's signature on a funding bill that cut a whole bunch of money for a homeless shelter. And he offhandedly says to the impersonator president, well, if you can find the, $800 million in the budget, you can have your damn shelter. And he calls up his accountant friend and starts going through the budget line by line and saves the shelter. And, he calls out kind of the fat cats of Washington to say, well, you're getting this deal on this. And well, let's spend it on something that's actually worthwhile. And, he's kind of the everyday person who, fights looking out for the little guy. And, I think he was despite being an actor, within the movie, he was a strong president.
I love the end of the movie where he's running for office himself. He's opening up that campaign office. Sigourney Weaver, also great in that film throughout. Just really, really solid pick going with Dave. And, actors as presidents, not the best records, at least in my mind. Your mileage might vary there when we think about that, Ryan.
That's right.
That's the end of the 5th round. We're going into the 6th round, everybody. This is getting serious now. We're getting into the late rounds. We're picking up. We still have some great names on the board, so we can definitely have some strong teams coming in here. The first pick of the 6th round goes to Scott. Scott is muted.
Scott doesn't know how to use a computer. My favorite presidential film of all time actually includes 3 different presidents. So it's kind of hard to pick which one. I'm going to go with, from my fellow Americans, President Matt Douglas, because James Garner is the best of the 3. For those who have not watched this amazing comedy from the 90s, and you should, you have 2 has-been presidents each from a different party who have to come together to take out the current president, who is a crook. And so you have just a buddy comedy with President Matt Douglas, and President Russell is the Republican, played by Jack Lemmon. Amazing film. But Matt Douglas is the stereotypical 90s ladies' man. He knows everyone more than he should, but also it's James Garner plays that role so well. It's amazing. So Matt Douglas.
Such a fun political comedy. Dan Aykroyd is a hilarious villain throughout.
Who was the 3rd president?
The buddy
Lemmon.
comedy between Jack Lemmon and James Garner is just perfect. It has the line that I think is just perfect in president. I hope it's used by several presidents, that they have to keep their hand on the first penis. So
the other one too, it's important to realize, let me go back and look at the date on this sucker. It came out in what year? 1996.
6, yeah.
Yeah, 96. And one of the twists of the movie is that they are in a gay pride parade, and that comes back to save them later on. So one of my favorite lines is, "We have met Mr. President somewhere over the rainbow."
Well, also, don't forget, man, we then definitively learned the lyrics of "Hail to the Chief" in this movie, as well as sung by Jack Lemmon.
Two versions.
Yeah, the two versions of it.
Because he's the chief and he means hailing.
Or the chief is going to kill you. Isn't that right?
I'm the chief and people all better listen, you dirty bastards.
He is the chief, so everybody hail like crazy.
I like it. Very much. Very
I'm
fun.
so going to go watch that tonight.
Yep.
All right. With your second to last pick, Mr. Melchin, where are you going with this one?
This is a tough one. So I'm going to go. So in the West Wing, there were more than one. There was actually 3 presidents throughout in the entire series. So I'm going to go with the acting president, Glen Walken.
There you go.
Who was he was the Speaker of the House. And I don't remember all the backstory behind the situation, but President Bartlett had to step aside because I think his daughter kidnapped.
Yes.
And so I don't know what the deal was with the vice president, but the Speaker of the House temporarily came in.
The vice president had already resigned. And
Yes.
Because
of a sex scandal.
Because of a sex scandal, yep.
Okay. And, I think he, in that moment when there was a lot at stake, he really stepped up. And there was a line in there. He's walking into a press conference with the press secretary, and she's worried what he's going to say. They're from different parties. He's a Republican, they're Democrat, and he looks at her and says, "The things that unite us are greater than what divides us." And I think that is so true today. And he stepped up at a really difficult moment. And despite the differences of philosophies with the Bartlett administration, I think he earned the respect of a lot of people.
That's oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say that has another great line where they're talking about the line of succession, and Leo's like, "We really don't need to be talking about a vice president right now." He's like, "Look at me. I'm one medium rare steak away from a heart attack. We need a vice president."
Yep.
Yeah, and I think he even says, just like, if I'm still here next week, we're getting into this. And
Right.
That episode is so great. Or the strings of episodes where John Goodman plays him there. Like, you're right. Like, there's such like a level of distrust that starts those episodes, and it just really melts away by the end of it. And you're right. It really gives you that great sense of what he says to CJ there about, what we have in common is greater than what we don't, and stuff like that. So that's a really, really good pick there, Nick.
In the
Ryan,
it was actually Ryan that had that pick. In West Wing mythos, that is the last episode that Aaron Sorkin's ever seen, because he did not watch the show beyond when he left the show at the end of season 4. But yeah, no, I think it's a really strong pick. And it had to have an actor the quality of John Goodman to step into a show that good and to be able to fill that role for several episodes. And love John Goodman. I'm a very pro John Goodman guy. He is so amazing in all of the acting that he does.
Is he the only person? I'm sorry. Is he the only person who's played a king and a president? King Ralph.
Like it.
I love that.
I'm not sure. We'll have to get our fact checkers on that. Jeremy, make sure you get the interns to do that. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Nick, you are finishing out the 6th round for us. What's your pick?
Okay. So I have the small folks, I've got the brain folks, and now I need the war folks. So I've decided to pick the president that goes unnamed completely in the movie Iron Sky. I'm not sure if you folks are familiar. She defeated the Nazis that escaped Earth in the 1940s and hid on the dark side of the moon. And she took an all-out war across space and defeated space Nazis.
Is this an asylum film? Because it sounds like an asylum film.
I forget who made it, but it's as good as it sounds.
Any president that's going to take on space Nazis is a president I think we can all get behind. So a very solid pick, a patriotic pick. There's no better foil in history or in movies, television than Nazis. And when you put them in space, it's even better to see them fail. So I enjoy all of that. Jeremy, your thoughts on the pick from Nick?
Yes, I mean, space Nazis is a problem that presidents have consistently ignored and not dealt with.
Obviously, actually, that might be
now,
real.
actually.
Yes, well, I
It's
mean, you
Space
never know.
Force, Jeremy. Come on.
It only took us until round 7 to get Nazis into the conversation.
Oh God, this year the time has lost all meaning, everyone. Space Nazis taking them out. That is a strong campaign, there's not going to be many people that don't get behind that campaign. So well done. Well done.
I've got to tell you also, Nick, you have by far the most diverse slate of presidents on your teams. It's a
good crew.
There.
It's a good crew. And if you actually watch the film, if you're familiar, the president's caricature is that of Sarah Palin. Are you familiar? Like the whole episode, she has like guns and like red suit tops, and it's pretty wild. So
that's amazing.
It's very, very all over art.
Everything about that is amazing. We are now moving into the final round. This is your final chance to make an impact. This is where you're going to reach out to get those swing voters, bring them over to your side. Polling doesn't matter. There might even be a polling error that we haven't accounted for in the statewide polling, and the whole country is going to go to hell. We don't know, but you need to bring over your people. You need to cement their vote. This is the last chance that you have. Ryan Melchin, who is your final pick for this draft?
You can't go wrong with the West Wing. I'm going to go with President-elect Matt Santos.
Yes,
I was
wondering.
My favorite scene with him is when he brings his Republican opponent in for a second offer for Secretary of State, and the way that those two, he starts off as, this is never going to work. Kind of, in your face, confrontational. And then he kind of just hands him a piece, some information on intelligence, and he kind of asks for his opinion. Then, they go from butting heads in the beginning of the scene to, collaborating over, what their future is going to look like over the next 4 years. So I think Matt Santos, he was a come from behind candidate, the unexpected candidate, proved everyone wrong, worked his tail off, and despite being a liberal, he reached out and said, I want my opponent to be part of the administration, and made a sincere offer, and I think that was good for the country.
Wonderful. I like it. If Nick is the party team that you're going to go and have a lot of fun with, yours seems to be like the compromise team, the people that are going to be reaching across the aisle to try to get their policies done, but will it attract enough voters? The moderates seem to be the centrist moderates out there.
This is 2020 after
dying
all.
Breed. So we will see if this team is going to take you all the way. Jeremy, any thoughts on Matthew Vicente Santos?
Yes, President-elect Santos was going to be the leader of my not drafted team if he survived this round. So very, very good pick there. You're getting the diversity in there, Jimmy Smits. And you're right. I've always thought that it would be just a really fun thing if, like, the presidential election, like, the loser becomes vice president. I just saw it, like, I think that's how it used to be.
Yeah, it didn't really work out for Jefferson Adams very much.
Throw it all in the blender right now.
Nick, you're up with your final pick of this draft.
Okay, so this one, I'm not sure if it counts, but I'm going to lean into it and do it anyway because, this one's kind of a stretch.
A book character.
No, it's not. This is not.
No,
Okay, you're right.
Okay. There's no rules here. It's fine.
This one, okay, so this is not a stretch, but a little bit of a stretch maybe. So it's the president. The film is the day after. The year is 1983. He's never in the film. But the movie influenced the real world so much, and our current president at that time wrote in his diary, and I quote, "Very effective and left me greatly depressed, and that it changed my mind on the prevailing policy on nuclear war."
Wow. Enough to change.
Again, he's not in the film. It is only through radio, and here he's on TV, like his reports and his decisions. But because of the poor decisions that president made, it affected a real life president to make real better decisions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, you said it was 83, so we're talking Reagan here.
I'm about to say, I'm going to debate the better decisions part, but go ahead.
I'm just saying he about-faced on some of his previous thoughts in his diary. So it's interesting to see that in retrospect. In my
opinion. To go back to Scott's question, this is your healer right here.
Correct.
You're finishing out strong.
Much like a D&D team, the healer is no longer on the table because he was never there to begin with.
I like it. Jeremy, your thoughts on Nick's final pick?
The outside the box thinking here from you, Nick, this whole draft has just been a breath of fresh air. And I think that you've got a strong team here that's going to grab the attention. And that's what you got to do sometimes in these public fan votes, man.
Not me,
I think
us.
It's a strong team.
That's right.
Not me, us. That's right.
Nothing says grabbing the attention of younger people, but with a 1983.
If the people that are willing to have the comic. Oh, there's Lisa Simpson. Oh, there's Sarah Palin with a gun. He's got Sarah Palin with a gun on his team. You know what I mean? And then he's also got somebody that doesn't even really exist, but is caused the voice of reason through the fourth wall.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to finish this out. The last pick of the draft goes to Scott McFarland. This is it.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to take a little bit of strategy from Nick here because I do feel that I do need somebody who can punch people, and I don't have that yet. Maybe Michael Douglas can punch people, but yeah, it's kind of questionable. So I'm going to go with. Every action film ever made after 1989 has been a riff off Die Hard. And what better film than Die Hard at the White House, the good one, because there was two, Olympus Has Fallen. And I'm going to President Benjamin Ashner, played by Aaron Eckhart. More so, actually, in Olympus Has Fallen, he doesn't really get to do much. He does punch a guy, but in London Has Fallen, he gets a gun. So I'm going to go with Benjamin Ashner.
Nice. Now, I've heard from some people that he might be a little two-faced at times. Are you worried about that?
So many people. Lots of people are saying, Scott. Lots of people.
Yeah, and then lots of people are saying that Dark Knight Rises sucked. So
because he wasn't in it. There you go.
No, many reasons why it sucked. That was one of them.
I think it's a strong pick. I like it. It is nice to get back into that action flick because I think that is what helps unite us in some of our presidents is that we want to see a president that can punch people for sure. I like it. Jeremy, your thoughts on the final pick of this draft?
Very strong, very good. I was wondering if if Ashner would come off because, very strong presidential character there, and those movies are sneakily good. Like those are sneakily really fun movies. I'm glad to see that he got taken there. Still some big names on the board though that I'm surprised didn't go off.
Yeah, we are wrapped here, and I'll ask Jeremy his thoughts overall, but I do have to pour it out for Selina Meyer. She is once again forgotten by the crowd, and her presidency is not represented in this draft. I feel really bad for President Meyer.
That show wasn't really funny.
That show was hilarious. So you, sir, are wrong. That's my commentary for the night. But Jeremy, who are some of your undrafted thoughts that you thought would have been picked up in this?
Well, yeah, even though the second season went downhill like really crazy, Tom Kirkman from Designated Survivor, very strong.
One I would not have led anybody with that guy. That writing jumped off a cliff.
Yeah, season 2, but season 1 was pretty enjoyable, and I like the idea of a truly independent president, which we haven't had since. Hell, I don't know, Teddy Roosevelt, I guess, when he ran as a third party.
And he lost.
Yeah, exactly.
To Taft.
No, I'm honestly surprised that some of the presidents from 24, like David Palmer or Allison Taylor, didn't get picked in this draft because those were some really fun representations of the presidents in that series, especially those early ones there.
It's hard to keep track though because they die like every 3 episodes.
That is true.
Presidents
also gone with Wayne Palmer, so
yeah.
Well, I will tell you, we have some stacked teams, and it's going to be up to you, the voters, to make sure to send one of these teams into our fictitious White House. The only prize here is pride, because we don't have enough money to actually send you a real prize. But let's go over the teams real quickly. Team Melchin is being led off by James Marshall from Air Force One. He then has Tom Whitmore from Independence Day, President Fowler from Sum of All Fears, Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation, Bill Mitchell from Dave, Glen Walken from The West Wing, and Matt Santos from The West Wing. That's Team Melchin. Any final thoughts, Ryan? Anything you want to say to inspire your voters to get out there and really hit the ground and get to the polls for you?
Vote your conscience. That's all I can say.
I like it. I like it.
Greg, I want to point out your clear bias, though, because crap for saying Ed and Shepard. He pulls two guys from the West Wing, and you don't.
You know, here's the deal. He didn't ask about the rules. He didn't make fun of the draft order.
Just go with the flow.
Work those refs, Scott. Work those refs like LeBron James, my man.
Well, hey, the ref isn't going to vote, so I don't care.
Ryan has only tormented me for around a decade, not 34 years. So this is where...
Don't remind me how old you are, by the way. That is... Don't do that.
Team Dodson, Nick, is leading us off with Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, President William Allen Moore, Sam Jackson from Big Game, President Lisa Simpson from The Simpsons, President Beck, Morgan Freeman from Deep Impact, Maze Gillum, Chris Rock from Head of State, the President from Iron Sky, and the President from The Day After. Final thoughts from you, Mr. Dodson.
I think it's a strong start, and I think we're going to win. So I encourage everybody to get out there and vote tomorrow as well. The 24th in Illinois, too. So early voting start tomorrow, and vote for me.
That's right. That's right. I like it.
Jeremy has to get this out tomorrow now.
No, man, early voting's open. Like, that's fine.
It'll be open when this comes out. It'll be.
You can go vote right now.
Yeah.
You can go vote. And Team McFarland, Team Scott McFarland, is going to be Daniel Day-Lewis from Lincoln, playing Abraham Lincoln, Jed Bartlett from The West Wing, Lex Luthor from Smallville, President Andrew Shepard from The American President, Jack Ryan from Scott's Books, Matt Douglas from My Fellow Americans, played by James Garner, and President Ben Ashner, played by Aaron Eckert, and from Olympus Has Fallen. Scott, any final thoughts on your candidacy?
Again, I think between all three, Nick and I are the most well-rounded, but I have ones that actually all have all names. So that is a bonus, I believe. Along with
true,
I am the only one who picked a president who probably would end the world. So I think I should get some bonus votes for that.
And now it's up to you, voters, to go out there and vote for these candidates and see who wins. I have to tell you, I have had so much fun this evening. It was so great to have all of you on the show. What I do want to do is just give you a moment to say where people can follow you on social media if they want to follow along with the campaign. And of course, we're wishing you all the best on November 3rd here as you come around the final corner. But Ryan, go ahead and tell us where people can find you and follow along.
Yeah, I've got a Facebook page. It's simple, Ryan Melchin, Sangamon County Board. I'm kind of posting what I've been doing, knocking on doors in a socially distant way, which is completely different than anything I've done before. Wearing a mask where people can't even, they look at the card I give you. Are you sure this is you? And so, just get out there. There's a lot of good candidates running. It's good to see Nick running, and we need more young people involved in the process. And being the youngest member of the county board by about probably at least 10 years, we need more young people to get involved. Whatever your political affiliation is. So it's good to see Nick. We probably disagree on a lot of things, but I think more young people involved in the process is good for all of us.
For sure. I completely agree with you there. Nick, tell people where they can follow along with your campaign.
Yeah, so if you just head to Facebook or Twitter and just do @ElectNickDodson, that's it. So you can find me on Twitter or Facebook with @ElectNickDodson, or go to www.electnickdodson.com. So it's all set up on there. And I'm very, very excited. I'm going to announce this on here. I haven't told anybody yet. I just got this phone call today. I got my first endorsement today on a phone call, and it was from the Central Illinois Trades and Labor Council, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So I'm going to go and throw that out there. So I'm announcing it officially right here. I haven't told anybody else except like my mom and a few other people. So, but yeah, pretty excited about that. But yeah, I'm pretty active online. If anybody ever has any questions, I love engaging with people. I do 100% of all my social media responses. Email me, text me, call me. My number is very much so out there. We're phone banking. I've done over 500 phone calls. We've dropped over 1,000 lits on doors. We're hitting it hard. So just doing the best I can and learning a lot along the way.
That's awesome. And Scott, I know you're not up until 2023, but where can people follow along with you?
Yeah, you can find me at scottmcfarland.us, which will take you straight to my Facebook page because it's just easier than trying to search for how many Scott McFarlands are out there. So scottmcfarland.us. And Nick, I got to tell you, since you mentioned that endorsement, when I ran the first time, I realized that, holy crap, this is actually happening when Trades and Labor sat down with me and said that I had their endorsement. So I completely understand the excitement of getting your brothers and sisters in labor backing you up. And for me, it turned out to be a win. So good luck, sir.
Thank you so much.
And to Ryan, I end with, you want to come here. You know it. It's just a matter of time. I've already converted so many. Blake Whitson, Christopher Galvin, them. Come over to our side. And also I want to say thank you to Ryan for being the youngest county board member who hasn't called me a coward in the past 2 years. Looking at you, Tony.
There's still time, man. There's still time. Ryan, do you want to rectify that now?
I've known Scott for 10 plus years, and I've never once called him a coward. I'm not going to start tonight.
Oh, that's nice.
That's good. But I will say I'm very excited that I am not running until 2023 because try running for school board during a pandemic. Have fun.
I bet you've gotten a couple of phone calls these last few months. Jeremy, can you give our social media and where people can find us?
Yeah, absolutely. I do this every week for the Rundown in the Box Office Minute. If you want to find more from the Front Row Network, you can go to thefrontrownetwork.com or nprillinois.org/program/Front Row Network. You can also find us on social media by searching for the Front Row Network on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, or follow us on Twitter at Front Row Reviews with a Z.
Thank you so much there, Jeremy. And I just want to say to everybody, the reason why we wanted to get this episode together was not only because these are great guys that are really hitting the pavement and really trying to look and get engaged, but we wanted you to have a fun way to think about the election coming up. As Nick mentioned, early voting has already started in Illinois. Wherever you are in the country, likely early voting is going on right now. And so we just implore you to get involved, because without you getting involved in the process, nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to get better. So make sure that if you feel so inspired like they have, run for office, join some nonprofit boards, do whatever you can to make sure that you get involved and change your community for the better, which is exactly what these people are doing for us. And so grateful that they took time out of their campaigns to come and join us today. And make sure to go out there and vote. That is the biggest thing, the biggest message I can leave you with, is that nothing will change without you trying to make that difference. So thank you so much to everybody for joining us. For the Front Row, I am Craig.
I'm Jeremy.
Ryan.
This is Nick.
Mail-in ballots are your friend. I'm Scott.
And we will see you in the front row. Thank you, everybody, and make sure you go vote.